being a parent and being a leader in your family, as much as you may or may not realize, you taking care of yourself is gonna play towards them to begin to take care of themselves.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Healthy Living Wichita podcast with GoTimeTraining. I'm your host, Raymond Elliott, lead personal trainer at GoTimeTraining in Northeast Wichita, Kansas. I've been in the fitness industry for over 20 years now, and I've seen it all. This podcast cuts through all the fads and gimmicks to give you a science-based truth on all things fitness and nutrition, so you don't have to try to figure it out on your own. If you want to live happier and healthier and get the scoop on how to work out, eat right, and keep a positive mindset, you're in the right place. It's go time. Now, let's get to the show. All right, here we are. Well, I don't even know what episode this is. Episode number 5. I don't know if I'll count every episode that we go when I get to like 432 here in a couple years. But I believe we're on episode number 5 of Healthy Living Wichita, and we have a special guest and a really good friend of mine, something that people don't kind of know about me and Steven. And Steven was actually one of my first friends. I've actually known him longer than anybody else here at GoTime because I taught at Heritage College.
Yeah.
And you're actually one of my first students there, so you got to deal with me as that. But I taught at Heritage College, the instructor of personal training. Steven was a student of that, and crazy. Now we're looking, I don't know how many years longer, 8 or 9 years. 9 plus years, yeah. We're now kind of leaders of the company in different aspects, and so that's just kind of amazing tidbit. I've always admired you and appreciate you as my friend, and glad to have you on here. So this is Steven Crafton. If you want to tell a little bit about yourself, you can do that for the viewers so they get to know you real quick.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that, Raymond. And definitely, I feel the exact same. It's been great to be able to know you all this time and to be introduced to you as your student and as a teacher. It was a great time. Then we were totally different people back then.
It's amazing.
Raymond was just coming into Wichita, and here I was a Wichita native at that point.
Yeah.
But he was full of knowledge and helped me move into a career that I've had a massive passion for. So I really have so much owed to you through that because you've helped bring me to where I am today. So a little bit about myself. Again, Wichita native here to Wichita, and love the city. Used to not so much, but I think becoming a husband and a dad, and just like a lot of you out there may know, this is a great place to raise a family. Definitely is. So, yeah, I think that's kind of what we want to talk about, right?
Yeah. Steven's a man that comes with that. So Steven was a personal trainer. He actually worked at GoTime, going back a little bit more time as a personal trainer. Kind of took a little leave and came back as our studio manager. So he has a real knack of talking to people and getting people motivated and kind of helping them figuring out what is the greatest path for them, and really just doing some motivational to help them make a change, which is awesome. We talked a little bit about mindset last time, but really what I'd like to talk to you, I think what a lot of us admire about you, Steven, is that you really have a set priority, and that's hard for a lot of people to kind of have that. You have a priority with your spirituality. You have a priority with your family. You have a priority with your fitness. You have a priority with your job, and you have a priority with your kids. And not exactly in those orders. I could probably put them in the order: God, wife, kids, job, fitness. I would imagine if I had to. But you've been able to balance all that out, and so I'd really just like, for the viewers out there that struggle, we have all these working moms that are going through a lot of the same aspects too. They have children, they work, they want to work on their fitness. How are you successful at that, and what are some things that you do to keep that in mind, to have that balance, to set work away, to make sure you have time for your wife and kids, or to take those breaks from your kids and wife to make sure that you focus on yourself? How do you do it, Guru? Let me know. I need to know.
So an early on thing that I did was I actually wrote it down. So just like you kind of listed off that higher priority from one downward,
right?
Knowing that some of those may match as close to the same level of priority in there, but I listed them off years ago. I knew that if I didn't understand what was above one or the other, how are you to pick and choose? Right? Yeah. When time comes down to crunch, you already want to know what you're going to pick or choose. So I think that is a big tip for anyone out there. If you've got a lot that you're juggling in life, between when do I do devotional times with myself, whether it's just for meditation or your relationship with God. And when do I focus more on my marriage versus with my kids? Or when do I focus on my health and fitness over those other pieces as well? So listing them out, and then I had them in my locker for a long time so that I, again, when it came to those points of when do I pick one over the other, you're not choosing in the time of stress or in the time of anxiousness, or so that really helped me out a lot, and I think it just ingrained the way to choose.
Yeah, yeah. That way you know what your priority is. Like you said, you know what to choose, and so then you set your own standards and your own boundaries
Yeah.
for yourself. Which a lot of times we get pushed to the other ones, and we really realize that we're not living in our priorities of like taking care of ourselves or the priority of our family, when we're sometimes putting work first. And I understand that's difficult and not putting any judgment to that, but we just don't even realize that we're in that space, even though we do realize it.
Yeah.
In our head, we're saying, man, I really wish I would do these other things, but we push those aside. So you know where you're at. And I wonder how many people out there, because I imagine somewhere in some kind of sales or leadership position, I have put those priorities in order, but I wonder how many people really just sit down and think about what their priority is, because you might not really even know until you kind of rack and stack them, like you said, especially if you do quite a big list. So that's an awesome way. But I've heard people say that, but I've never really heard people say, so you know what to choose, when to choose it, and how much to choose of it. You know.
And when I did it because it was someone gave me the advice to do that, but didn't understand like how that would play out and when that would actually be coming into effect in my life until you look back and you have that hindsight of, wow, that list really did help me out during those times. And I haven't been perfect, so there's been a lot of times where I've allowed.
You're human, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Where I've allowed
me too
my friendships to soar above some different things, or my personal priorities to move up above. So
I think we all get pushed in different areas, and we all are human, and we have selfish nature, and things sometimes supersede that. But it's nice to kind of know where your priorities are, and you can always reevaluate and say, okay, I've been living over here. I need to be more over in this here. Here's my priorities. I set this up for myself. I got to live up to my own standards. So I think that's awesome. I think obviously we see that with our clients. I know you being part of the studio manager and really being a part of that next step for people to make those decisions and make that change. You probably see this a lot with parents that come in there that have children that's probably been putting a lot of time into that. So I think it's kind of a two-part question for you. One, the parents that come in that have devoted most of their time to their children, how do they find a peace to commit to themselves as far as fitness? Because we know that can benefit everything in your life, and it needs to be a part of your priorities. And then two, on a second part of that, what about people that have been putting all their life into their children, but now the children are gone and they're kind of open? What was the kind of next steps for that? So the first one, I guess we'll tackle one at a time. It's a live show here. Tackle it at a time. How about people that are parents and family? How do you help them get involved into making a change or making those next steps? I'm sure you see that a lot with people that you talk to every day.
Yeah, I do. Well, of course, there's going to be different seasons for those parents too. Sometimes summer is different than school year.
Right.
But is looking where do your kids take your time up? You don't want to necessarily take away from what you're either currently doing. But maybe like focusing on, when do you have that open time? Is this something that we now need to focus on, like doing before they rise, or doing during over a lunch period where they're not really a part of your day? So we kind of begin to focus in on like, when are those open opportunities? And it's not easy. It really isn't. And there's never really a perfect answer because everyone's got a different schedule.
Right.
A lot of people have different size families. Their dynamic is there, and then maybe the support isn't always there from the rest of the family. One cool thing is being a parent and being a leader in your family. As much as you may or may not realize, you taking care of yourself is gonna play towards them to begin to take care of themselves.
Very true.
I can't remember exactly when it was, but there was a point whenever I wanted to make sure my kids had fitness a part of their life in the future, and realized they're just going to see me doing it. I don't necessarily have to teach them. Yeah, Dad got up and worked out every day, and when I saw him first, it was typically when I was waking up, but he was just getting home from working out. I was like, wow, if I can be that example, I don't necessarily think I'll have to work hard into guiding them or motivating them in it, but that they know that this is what Dad does, and that's helped him to be successful in those areas. So
Yeah.
And being an example is probably the biggest thing to motivate them.
That's
I don't
actually,
know if I answered that exactly right, but
we're just talking. So we're
yeah,
obviously trying to give some content and help people, but me and you're just having a conversation. So I think that's actually pretty cool because I just had a client that you helped get involved into a program today. And I asked her, we always kind of go through their goals, but I always want to dig a little bit deeper. Like we talked about 20 pounds, losing that can be a great goal, cosmetically feeling better in your clothes. I think those are all great goals, but is there something more to that? And when we kind of dig a little bit deeper, she said, honestly, I have a child that is really kind of overweight, and I feel like if I start getting into shape and start getting into better fitness, then I can be an inspiration for them. That's a different goal. When you're doing something because you care about being an inspiration to your child, that holds a lot more water than, yes, I want to lose 20 pounds. Normally, you think that's a big goal, but normally that's not really the deal. So I think that's a great thing, being a role model for your children, because they do mimic you, and they do want to be, like you. And if you're exercising, that's a huge part. So, and kind of going back to what we're saying, like we do see a lot of people that put, all the time. I hate to like be gender because I think everybody in aspects, especially nowadays, a lot of times we used to see the husbands or the fathers, they spend a lot of their time in work because they were trying to be the breadwinners, and that way all their time was, and they neglected their own fitness, their own self-help because they were working. Now we see that obviously has changed. Same thing with women. A lot of times it was their kids. They put everything, they put themselves second into that, and then took away from their fitness and their own health because all they cared about was taking care of their kids, which is understandable. But basically, what you're saying is that if you don't allow yourself some fitness and health, one, you're not being as good as role model as you could be, and you're probably not going to be as successful at work or your kids because you're not helping your own self, I guess, and you're not probably feeling it as good.
yeah, definitely. Being that example is a huge thing. If you're not practicing what you're teaching, it's really hard to have somebody want to follow you or listen to you. So
Yeah.
that's another piece in there. And I give it up to that client who decided to make the leap and get into becoming that example for their child. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's never too late though. Even if you have children that are now becoming independent, whether they're starting to drive and take care of themselves more, able to stay home by themselves, and you're at that place, it's never too late to become that example. But as many of you know, like a sharper saw will work faster and work better.
Like
Even if you take that hour away from everything you're doing, you got to understand how much more you're going to be able to provide for them in the times that you do have available.
Yeah. That's awesome because, I kind of joked about me not having children before this, but
Yeah.
if you don't have kids, because people ask that, like, hey, I'm like, eat healthy, and they're like, well, do you have kids? And I'm like, no, and they automatically discredit you. So that's an understandable thing. I understand in those aspects, and I've worked with hundreds of parents, and I also understand the love for that. But I don't understand the difficulties. That it's easier for me to eat whatever I want. I do have a wife that I have to take care of and a family that I have to hold up with that, but I don't have those same things where I have to have total involvement with my children all the time and have to make those decisions. So it's great to come from somebody that can educate where I probably wouldn't be taken from me as well, because I don't have kids. So it's good to kind of be able to learn from you and be able to see how to balance all those actions. And like I said, you working with tons of people that come in here that say either I don't have enough time or now my kids are taking care of themselves. What do I do? How do I get started?
Yeah.
So what are some things that people can do? You said find some time and then just kind of start getting involved into some kind of program for themselves when they basically trying to just delegate when they can be able to do that.
Yeah, I think what you can do, like we started off talking about, was making that list. I began to think about through this is when you have that list, you'd be shocked on how much that fitness is actually going to affect the things that are higher up on that list. How can you serve your wife better or husband better or your children better, sometimes those lower things are actually taking care of those higher things on the list. Like we mentioned, taking care of your children could be part of actually taking care of yourself.
They get intertwined.
Yeah,
If you're
they
better
really
spiritually, you could be better as a parent because you're
Yep.
living by those values. If you take care of yourself, fitness, you could be
Mhm.
better, maybe even spiritually. I mean, they
Yeah.
can all kind of blend in together.
Yeah, taking care of yourself. So
Being
that,
happy probably helps out a lot of
that's
things.
going to change your mood and the way you handle the situations when they are stressful. But I was just thinking of like, if I take care of my fitness and my kids are able to see that example, well, there you are. You're taking care of that higher priority because you've taken care of some things that are lower on that.
Yeah.
Definitely can play a big role.
I think people just need to think that. I think they just sometimes feel like they have to do this one thing and that they do anything for themselves, they're being selfish and they just don't have the time. And I think also people have to realize that getting involved in fitness doesn't mean that you have to work out 5 times a week or 6 times a week and hours a day at the gym. It could be something very small. It could be something just starting walking and then getting into a small routine at home. It could be doing a couple classes a week. It doesn't have to be huge. As you get more involved in it and find that your time, you can obviously progress and step up from that. But it could be anything. It could be doing some light yoga throughout the week. So at least getting involved in something that you're taking care of yourself and making those first steps. Maybe forward, and then seeing if you can add steps after that if you need to, if you feel like the need to. But it doesn't have to be something overwhelming and crazy and killing yourself and working out and feel like you can't go home and do anything.
Yeah.
You should be able to still have strength and energy, and you can still do things that you need to take care of yourself at home, not go straight to the couch and sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So speaking of being an inspiration for kids in fitness, what about kids exercising? So I know the science behind it because I read books, but I don't, once again, don't have those same things. So what do you feel like far as there's a lot of myths out there, kids shouldn't work out, they shouldn't lift weights, they shouldn't do anything. What's your thoughts on kids and fitness and exercise?
Kids and fitness, it's a must, really.
Okay.
One big thing I think we all as parents and people out there who support children and young adults is you want to make sure that they're educated, right?
Right.
But a healthy body creates a healthy mind. So you almost want to put them together. I've got a little boy. He's 3. He's super active.
I've seen him in here.
Yeah, he is. He is literally super active. My
Little
mom
Steven
doesn't let me forget that that's how I was.
Yeah, I can
she
imagine.
says that I'm finally getting paid back.
That's probably why I don't have kids yet. I'm super scared, but it'll be okay.
But helping him to say, like, learn his ABCs, I have done that while wrestling. It seems crazy, but he has honestly learned his ABCs so much faster, not at a table, sitting there, like a traditional school setting might be or pre-K setting, but literally when we're wrestling, I'll just start singing them.
Yeah.
And it's wild how much more kinetically in his mind it's connecting.
Yeah.
And it's just those connections are being put together. I think because he's so physically stimulated that his mind is like, okay, it's able to absorb a little bit more. And there's tons of studies out there.
That's cool.
In kids being active, even adults being active. And we to see that with adults, right?
Yeah.
We begin to have more stand-up desks or sitting on an exercise ball.
Yeah. Exercise is one of the main treatments for Alzheimer's. It actually seems that's improved cognitive and memory and thought process just through exercises alone. So that's a huge aspect in that. So I could see if it's obviously going to work and help out with that in that generation and situation, that it could also help out with kids. I never really thought about that. I mean, when I think of kids, I think about, because me, I'm thinking about like being in shape and being fit. I want my kid to be a sports star and, look good in high school because of, there's some benefits to being in shape in high school that I remember. It's been a long time. But those things, but I don't think about there's actually a really good help development, mental learning part, probably just cognitive and reactive and all those different things probably play a lot of part in just thinking and being creative and remembering. So that's huge.
Remembering and all that, yeah. So the more active a child is, really the more active their brain will be through that. So keep that child going, keep them moving, and begin to teach them as they move. But when is the best time for a kid to start working out? I mean, the first few months, we start having child.
I was going to have mine start bench pressing like after delivery. Like they call that thing a gym, right? Isn't that supposed to have like a... I saw one and it just had like something like there and like a squeaky toy. I was like, where's the bench?
Yeah.
Where's the leg press? There wasn't any of those things down there. So I don't know how they call them a gym, but
tummy time when they're a few months old.
There you go.
All the way through, having them crawl more, to walk more, to to start doing balance and hand-eye coordination. I mean,
Yeah.
all those can be considered exercise.
Yeah.
We don't always want to think of exercise as pushing a barbell, right?
Oh, sorry.
Right. So, and then as an adult and a parent, that's a perfect time for you to begin to do it as well.
Yeah.
We talked about when can you fit it in. Often I tell an individual that 5 hours worth of exercise is what a healthy adult should have in a week. Wow, that seems like a lot if you aren't doing anything structured.
Yeah.
But, you know, getting on the floor with them and wrestling, if you're spending 20 minutes with a little like hands-on activity with your child and you've got down on the ground and you've stood back up 35 times, I mean, that's a lot of up downs, right?
I can imagine, yeah.
You know, so you can begin to get active with your children and you're not taken away from fitness or your child.
Yeah,
so.
that's really good. Yeah. You know, I know some people, you know, there's some myths about their like weight training stunts growth and all that stuff, and they haven't really found any of that to be really like with growth plates and all those aspects. You might not have your 5-year-old bench press, and I don't think any kid should PR. Basically, what they've pretty much said in the beginning, a lot of play, a lot of recreation. If you want to do some kind of exercises, have it more like an obstacle race or kind of like a boot camp. You have to be careful outside and make sure they get, you know, enough hydration and that they're wearing light clothing. But I think as they get older, doing weight training or even at a young age, learning how to do squats and all those things can be fun for some kids. Attention spans we have to watch out for. But I really think a lot of the myths out there about kids exercising has been, you know, debunked from my understanding. And there's a lot of benefit from it, as you said, even you know, mentally, as far as learning aspects, and then obviously there's a physical aspect to it as well. Yeah. So that's good. I think a lot of people don't realize. I have to go into the science of everything, if you don't mind. So I don't know. I don't have kids, but I do understand a little bit about the body. And from, you know, what people don't realize is that a lot of our, you know, our diseases and situations start from a young age. So I prophesize that osteoporosis is going to be a huge thing in the future because kids are less active nowadays. When I was younger, you know, we spent a lot of time outside, and we act like all kids sit inside and play video games. That's not true, but it's definitely been a lot less active. People are doing that a lot more, and that's where you build up a lot of bone mineral density.
Yeah.
Falling, jumping, jarring motions, those create more bones density, and you actually have your highest possibility at puberty or before to have the highest. As you get older, you start to lose bone mineral density. So I always kind of think about it as like building like sheets of pages. So when you're younger, you're building up bone mineral density, and you're building up that sheets of pages. So if you don't do anything, you're inactive. Here's your you know, your stack of paper. And if you're building a lot of bone mineral density, this is your stack of paper. As you get older, you quit going from a building to a depleting. Those things start to change, so you start to pull from. If you have this stack of paper and you're pulling each year, you're going to still end up with quite a bit of bone mineral density. By the time you're 60 and you already started with a low, you're going to be a lot less. And I see osteoporotic fractures, which have a higher mortality rate for older adults if you have like a hip arthritis fracture. And those things are going to be a lot more prevalent because kids are not exercising. They're not as active. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge part. Most of your bone mineral density is from youth to childhood, riding bikes, even falling down, jumping off things, doing weight training is going to be huge for that. And it could save, you know, literally your child when they have kids or grandparents, and keep them from getting older, so their kids don't have to, you know, take care of them as much, and they can stay active with them. So those are huge things. Like arteriosclerosis too starts as a younger age. So heart disease and all that stuff it doesn't start as a younger age, but you start to build those things up. So exercise in the beginning can really save somebody's life later on. So you really don't know how much longevity you're just bringing to your kid's life, even if you're not here to witness it. I'm sure it's probably a pretty good thing.
Yeah. And they're gonna have to have fitness a part of their life as they get older as well.
Yeah.
And if you can set them up for that success.
Yeah.
From that early age.
We might hire them as personal trainers. I don't know. We're all be in that mix, but yeah, we might need them. So.
Definitely. I like to think of the playground as the gym, right? I mean, what is one of the early names that they were called? They were called jungle gyms.
Yeah, jungle
right?
gyms.
Jungle gyms.
I remember that.
So you just don't want to forget that they are gyms for kids.
Yeah.
They are. So take them to the park, let them play. Like Raymond was saying, they're naturally going to start jumping off that second, third step. Boys and girls, they all love it. Most jungle gyms today are very safe.
Yeah, they're way safer. Mine, there was just like gravel and like I remember like it was almost like a freaking Ninja Warrior obstacle course race out there, and I would like hurt myself daily from that, and they would just like tell you to go back to class. Now they're all rubber and nice and supported. You can like face dive on them and you're fine. So
Yeah.
yeah,
They had rocks or they were just ground and hard and dirt. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, they'll definitely
wood chips, like splinters. I'm like, why am I in mulch? But
Yeah.
yes, they're way safer, not gravel, and yeah.
And as a parent, play with them as well. Get in that jungle gym with them. Climb up those stairs. You jump off of it as well. Monkey bars are huge.
Yeah.
Allow them to start improving that grip strength and that and hand-eye coordination as they're going from bar to bar to bar. I mean, all that can travel into their education and travel into their calligraphy, even though that's beginning to be a little bit lost.
What is that?
In their writings and their drawing and their artistic levels. But yeah, so much is promoted from a child being active.
It sounds like everybody. So it sounds like from getting this, fitness is a pretty big thing.
It's huge.
It's huge. Cool. Like I'm glad I got into the right thing. That's good. That you kind of validate everything I've been doing for the last 20 years. So
Yeah.
that's excellent. So I always like to kind of summarize, just because I'm the type of person, when I was an instructor and teacher, I have my mind can go 400 different things. So to make sure that my audience that I was talking to kind of got everything that I said, kind of from the beginning aspect is prioritize, look at those things, have a work-life balance, try to have where fitness is in part of that, but also just through everything, because you've been able to separate and find what's most important and looking at that and figuring out where fitness is at. And even for the people that they've put their whole life into either work or their children, can find that time and look for it, and you don't have to go crazy. You can start off kind of where it's at. And that fitness for kids is hugely important, and even important for the adults, because you're also burning more calories and being more active with that same aspects, and that kids should exercise, and it can benefit them even in the future with their health, and it can even benefit them with their basically intelligence, cognitive behaviors, activities, and those things. They can learn better if they're more active.
And then remembering on that list of priority, how much the fitness is going to affect the higher ones too.
Yeah, they're all intertwined. So fitness doesn't have to, yourself doesn't have to take one, because those are actually helping those other things that are important to you.
Yeah.
Where's Netflix on that one? That's a new priority for mine. Ozark, number 3.
I suppose if you can put it in with your relationships with your family, with your wife.
Yeah,
you squeeze that in.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
good.
overdone.
No, okay, good. Yeah, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I mean, I did binge watch Ozark, and it probably prioritized over everything. So I apologize, honey, for that. For those 3 days of Ozark. But
yeah. And then recapping, like you were doing there, the next piece going over when should a child exercise?
Oh yeah,
when should they get started?
Tomorrow.
And yeah, don't forget that they get started immediately in life.
Okay. Yeah. And kind of said in the beginning, maybe some more recreational type things, fun, play, obstacle type exercise programs that you can get in those small group camps. But then group camps. That's the word. Boot camps, group training, and then they can also do some calisthenics, some regular exercise, and you can also get into some weight training as they get older and can tolerate that, and it doesn't seem to not benefit them. In fact, it can build more bone mineral density and those things. So yeah, and we see that. We had a little Go Time not too long ago virtually, which went really well, and we've had some group fitness classes in here because we care about everybody. I think we cater to an older demographic most of the time, because that's a lot of people that we need to benefit. But obviously kids are our future, and we want them to continue to be fitness and be inspirations. And that was another thing that you brought up, also being an inspiration to your kids. So a lot of good nuggets today.
Yeah,
hope everybody's taking notes.
Is huge to them. It really is. And then they can become that piece of accountability. Imagine when they become independent and you've helped them out, and as life changes, you may need that back. So one thing that we all want and desire is motivation and accountability, and your children can become that as you age as well and start asking back. I'm sure a lot of parents out there who have children begin to see that their children begin to hold them accountable, and what better to hold you accountable for your fitness too.
Yeah, fitness also teaches you structure and pushing yourself when you're not motivated, and teaches you a lot of life skills of sucking it up sometimes and not doing things. I think Arnold, which we all know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is, he had some downfalls, but I think he said that he was really successful because of the same effort and mentality that he had to put in exercise and getting up and doing those, and those things that he learned doing that also he utilized to become a governor. Yeah. The governor, and a movie star, and other things to become one of the American dream stories to come from somewhere else and be a part of that. But fitness was a big catalyst of what he learned on his basically his will and structure that he put to help him catapult himself into being the person that he is. So
Yeah, I want to leave you guys with something else. Is Raymond can account to this as well, as how often we see someone come in, begin to have changes in their health and their fitness, and then begin to themselves see that change mentally. They're working much more efficiently. They're actually becoming smarter themselves because they're activating those portions of their brain. So it's not just a kid or a child that can improve in their understanding, learning, but so can an adult. It's never too late to become smarter.
For Alzheimer's is actually been shown to be a beneficial thing. I think I actually have a blog about it. So yeah. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Living Wichita podcast with GoTimeTraining. If you enjoyed today's show and want to get started with your own fitness journey, I'd love to help kickstart your goals. How do 4 60-minute personal training sessions for $99 with me sound? Head over to www.gotimetraining.com/podcast to claim yours. I can't wait to meet you.